It's July and some of you have already stopped planting because you think your summer garden is winding down. Why? Who told you to do that? Your tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, and beans are cranking right now. But over the next several weeks, those harvest baskets are going to get a whole lot smaller unless you get your next round growing now. I'm going to show you exactly what to plant right now in July, so you're still picking fresh vegetables all summer long and right into the fall. And there's one crop you've probably been pulling way too soon that's actually been helping your whole garden. Number one on the list for July, and I promise you, this one's going to surprise you, tomatoes. Now, right now, your plants are loaded. You're out here every single day picking, eating, sharing what you have with the neighbors. And it finally feels like your tomatoes are hitting their stride. And because everything's going so well, you stop planting. But here's the problem. You're not out of the woods yet. Disease shows up out of nowhere on tomatoes. Or maybe a hornworm sneaks in overnight and wipes out a plant before you even know it's there. We've all had that happen, and it's so incredibly frustrating. But let me just remind you, these exact plants here are going to slow down over the next few weeks. Now that's weeks of empty harvest baskets in August and September. And that's the part you really need to plan for this month. July is the time to plant more tomatoes, but it only works if you plant the right kind. The big indeterminate tomatoes like these right here, your Golden Jubilees, your Cherokee Purples, heirloom varieties, and your big beefsteak tomatoes, all these big vining ones that keep growing until frost, they're not a good choice now at all. And here's why. When you plant them from seed, they need a good 3 to 4 months before you're harvesting them. And then by then, you're running out of warm weather in a lot of the country. So if you plant them now, you may end up with a big, beautiful plant and no tomatoes to harvest before they're wiped out by frost. Instead of planting indeterminate varieties, now is the time for determinate tomatoes, like Tiny Tim right here, Oregon Spring, and one of my all-time favorites, Golden Nugget. Now, what's different about these plants is that they stay nice and compact. They grow to about 2 to 4 feet, and they don't take over your whole garden. And this is the important thing. Instead of producing over several months, like the indeterminate tomatoes, most of the tomatoes on determinate plants ripen within a few weeks. And that's exactly why they work so well for a July planting. So here's what I do. I start mine in the 6-packs or in these little 4-inch pots. And in about a month or so, I've got transplants ready to go. And if you already have your grow lights set up, it's super easy. All you need to do is just pop a 6-pack under those. That's really the fastest way to go. But if you don't have your grow lights set up, you don't want to bother with that. It's warm enough right now outside to start your seeds in 6-packs right out on your deck or patio in an area that gets morning sun, but afternoon shade, so they don't dry out too much. And since they're already growing outdoors in the 6-packs, you don't have to mess around with hardening them off later, which saves you a little bit of time. Either way, in about a month or so, you've got transplants ready to roll. Now, if you have a little spot of open bed space and you really don't need much, just plant your transplant deep right into the soil. Put a little cage around it, and you definitely want to plant them deep because then they'll grow roots all along the buried stem, and that gives you a much stronger plant. But if your beds are full, don't let that stop you. Determinate tomatoes are perfect for containers like Tiny Tim over here. So this one's growing in about a 5-gallon container, which is really a great size for it. I even have a couple of small plants in here. If you want more tomatoes, just plant one determinate in a 5-gallon pot. And instead of waiting for space to open up, you can add your whole new tomato plant and just set your container right on your potting bench or on your deck or patio. So get your determinate tomatoes planted now in July. And by September or even sooner, you've got a whole new round of tomatoes coming in. I'm thinking fresh caprese, warm tomatoes onto a BLT, and enough left over for a big batch of fresh salsa. Is your mouth watering yet? Now, tomatoes are just the beginning. Now let's talk about some greens that don't just survive the summer heat, they actually love it. It's July, and I know this might sound crazy, but this is exactly what's going to keep you harvesting all the way into fall. You can still be pulling out fresh salads out of your garden in September and October, but only if you plant the right ones this month. Regular lettuce, spinach, and all your typical spring greens, they're absolutely done with this heat. Now, the greens I grow in July are completely different. They actually like the heat, and that's why I'm planting them right now. Now, you're probably not going to find any of these greens as transplants at your local garden centers. And if you've ever seen these specialty greens at farmers markets, you know they're expensive. A teeny tiny little clamshell can cost $6 or $7, which is crazy. But the good news is, one packet of seed can keep you harvesting for months on end, sometimes even years if you live in a southern climate like I do. So let me show you the greens that I have growing in my garden right now. I actually started most of them in these 6-packs about 6 weeks or so ago, just like I did with the tomatoes. So I've already got transplants ready to go. So if your beds are full, this is such an easy way to get your next round growing while you wait for a space to open up. And if you've already got room, so easy. Don't worry about your 6-packs. Just sprinkle the seeds right in the garden and keep them watered and you're off and running. First up is kale. It is an absolute workhorse in the heat. And here in my raised bed, I have KX kale growing, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Aren't these purple stems just absolutely beautiful? They're so, so pretty in salads, and they really do stand out in the garden as a landscape edible, or an ornamentable, as I like to call it. So the baby leaves are nice and tender in salads, and this one just keeps producing all summer long. The cool thing about kale is, in case you didn't know, it's also very cold tolerant. So it will take a frost. So it kind of does double duty. You plant them now in the summer, and in many areas you can keep on growing them throughout the winter time. So right over here in the red planter area, I have Florida broadleaf mustard greens. Now this one is a lot more heat tolerant than other varieties of mustard greens. These are big, bold leaves with a really nice peppery bite that gets even stronger as the weather warms up. And I actually like to grow mine under a trellis or here under these squash leaves where it gets a little bit of afternoon shade. So it just kind of helps them last a little bit longer. I just sow a few more seeds every couple of weeks in an empty spot in my garden. So I've always got fresh leaves coming in. Now this next one is purslane. Now you might've seen this popping up and thought it was a weed and yanked it straight out. Or maybe you've never even noticed it around town or around your garden. Either way, stop pulling it. Now purslane is actually one of the most nutritious plants you can grow. It's a succulent, as you can see here from these plants, so it barely seems to notice the summer heat. It's crunchy, just a little lemony, and here's the part that absolutely blows my mind. It has more omega-3s than spinach. So not bad for something most gardeners think is just a weed, right? Now I'm gonna plant this one right here in this empty spot because it doesn't really need much room at all. And another one of my favorites is red amaranth. I mean, take a look at these leaves. Aren't they gorgeous? They're deep burgundy. This plant does grow to about 3 to 4 feet tall. And again, it's ornamental and edible, my favorite kind of plants. So you can pick the young leaves for salads. They're kind of mild, tender, just a little bit nutty too. Or let them get bigger and then toss them in a stir fry. They're really beautiful in that. It absolutely loves the heat and it will keep on producing all through the summer into the fall. And I've got an empty spot over here at the back of my garden bed. And since it is a little bit taller, I do like to plant it along the back of garden beds or in a separate container so it doesn't shade out the other plants in my garden. And speaking of plants that just keep on going through the summer, red vein sorrel. These bright red veins are just gorgeous in a salad bowl. Are you getting the theme here with the heat tolerant greens? They're both ornamental and edible. I can't say enough about how beautiful your salads are gonna be if you grow these greens. And this plant absolutely does not quit. I think I've had this particular one in here for about 3 to 4 years. Through the summer heat, through the winter cold, it handles both of them beautifully. And once the weather cools off, I'm telling you, it just keeps right on growing. It's actually one of the most cold hardy plants you can grow. So even your gardeners in cold winter climates can get this one in your garden. Plus it's a perennial, even better. So it comes back year after year, so you only have to plant it once. Now when you're harvesting these greens, what I want you to do is not pull the whole plant out. Just snip from the outer leaves and then leave the center part alone. This is called the cut and come again method. When you harvest things this way, what it allows is for more greens to grow back so you can harvest your plant for many, many months. You're really doing double duty with these plants. They really do earn their spot in your summer garden. If you'd like to grow these greens, they're all in our summer harvest seed bundle over at CaliKimGardenAtHome.com. It really makes it easy because you don't have to hunt down all the different seed packets, and it's 50% off this 4th of July weekend with the code GARDEN50. We've got tomatoes and greens handled. Basil is next, and July is really the perfect time to start another round because you're using it on everything. Tomatoes, salads, grilled veggies. We love it on homemade pizza. And the last thing you want is to run out of basil when your garden is producing like crazy. So get another round planted now in July. And don't stop with just one variety. I love growing all different kinds of basil. Prospera basil, Thai basil. Oh, it smells so good. Got some purple basil in here and some of the beautiful kind of dwarf Greek basil. They all have a different flavor and a different texture and look absolutely beautiful in your recipes. All you have to do is just start another round in a 6-pack, or even easier, direct sow it right in the garden. July is plenty warm enough for basil to take off right in your garden beds. Plant more this month. You'll have fresh basil coming in all summer. You know when your basil gets kind of tall and leggy and sends up flower spikes and looks nothing like the beautiful bushy plant you started with, and you think, okay, it's done, time to pull it. Actually, don't pull it. And here's why. Now remember that crop I told you at the beginning of the video that you've probably been pulling out way too soon that's actually been helping your whole garden? This is the one, basil. Now some of that flowering basil really does need to stay right here in your garden beds because these flowers are absolute bee magnets. Those bees move from your basil to your tomatoes, to your squash, to your cucumbers, and they're pollinating everything while they're at it. And if you let these flowers go all the way to seed, to where they dry up, then you've got free basil seed to plant again next year. So do yourself a huge favor, plant more basil this month and leave a few of those flowering plants right where they are. While you're still making fresh pesto, topping your homegrown pizzas with basil in September, you are going to be so glad that you did. Next up are the power producers, cucumbers, squash, and beans. I'm not gonna spend a lot of our time on these today because we just covered them in my June power producers video. But here's why I'm still planting all three of these right now. Here's what's happening to the ones you already have growing. The powdery mildew is moving in. The bugs are showing up. The heat is just absolutely wearing them down like mine are here. And if you don't start a new round yet now in July, you're gonna walk out here in a few weeks or a month and have nothing to pick. I've been there many times and it's so frustrating. And maybe this is just me, but does anyone else feel like running out of cucumbers in the middle of summer is just absolutely the worst thing? So here's what I do to make planting power producers very, very easy in July. I just pop in a seed right behind one of my plants that's actually slowing down right now, maybe an inch or so behind it, about an inch or so deep. And that way, when this plant is all done, I can walk out here one morning and there's a new plant ready to take its place, ready to produce, and ready to harvest in about 6 weeks. Now this round, I want to encourage you to try a different variety. Maybe a lemon cucumber instead of your regular slicer. Or a round zucchini you can stuff and roast. Maybe even some royal burgundy bush beans with those gorgeous purple pods. It's just a fun little excuse to grow something a little bit different this time around. Now here's the thing that really makes or breaks all three of these power producers in July. Pick them young and pick them often, because the more you harvest, the more they produce. A cucumber that goes yellow on the vine or a zucchini hiding under a leaf that turns into a baseball bat, the plant sees that mature fruit and thinks it's done reproducing. So it just stops putting energy into new ones. Stay on top of it, and you'll have cucumbers, squash, and beans coming in every single day all throughout the summer. Now, if you'd like to try some of these varieties in your own garden, take a look at our Power Producer Seed Bundle over on our website. It includes 17 different varieties. It's 50% off this 4th of July weekend with the code GARDEN50. One last bonus before you head out to your garden to plant for July. While you're planting your vegetables this month, don't forget a few flowers too. July is the perfect time to direct sow zinnias, cosmos, and sunflowers. They're super easy to grow. Every time I walk through my garden, I see bees work on these flowers. It's such a good feeling because those same bees are helping pollinate my tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, and peppers. It's actually one of the easiest things you can do to help keep those harvests coming in. So here in July, your garden is just getting started on its next round. So get out there this week and get something in the ground. You'll be so glad you did when you're still picking fresh vegetables in September. Which one are you starting with? I'll be looking for your comments. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time in the garden.